Hello, everyone. Welcome to the live magic Q&A tea party. I have a little brain fade sometimes. I sometimes want to say my podcast introduction for the live Q&A and vice versa. But this is the free live magic Q&A tea party with me, Madame Pamita, that takes place every Sunday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Mountain, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern. It's on Zoom. So if you are watching this on YouTube, if you are hearing this somewhere else in the world, and you're like, I want to come in live and ask a question. I have questions about magic. I have questions about divination. I have questions about tarot. I have questions about spiritualism. Great. Bring them on, baby. You can come and join us. And the way to join us is to be a member of the Spell Squad. So easy to do. You don't have to pay. There's no dues to be a member of the Spell Squad. You just have to go to spellsquad.com. It's spellsquad.com and sign up. You're going to be on my email list, but you'll also get the notifications with the links to join us here for our live magic Q&A. So it's a win-win, and you get to come into the secret clubhouse. It's so exciting. You can ask all those questions about your magic, about your spells, about your divination, all of those good things. And you also get a free ebook on top of it, 7 Secrets to Supercharge Your Spell Work. I send that out to everyone. It's a beautiful 33-page ebook that's going to teach you really some great principles of magic and how to make your magic work. So it's a win-win all the way around. So my guest today is the fabulous Samuel Nez. And Samuel, Dr. Should I say Dr. Samuel, right? Dr. Samuel, yeah?
No, you can just call me Samuel.
Well, I was calling your mom Dr. Lisa. So I'm going to call you Dr. Samuel. Samuel's fine, though. Samuel is a board-certified doctor of natural medicine. He was born and raised on the Navajo Reservation. He incorporates his lineage in his curanderismo. I don't know why that's so hard.
It is a mouthful sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah, and I took years of Spanish, and I can speak Spanish. That one for me is so hard. Curanderismo. And he also incorporates his Native American healing traditions from his Diné background. Did I say that one right?
You did, yes.
He's traveled and studied with lots of traditional healers, curanderos and curanderas, and medicine people in the Southwestern United States, as well as in Mexico. He is an amazing healer using a variety of therapies and modalities in his private practice. He focuses on helping his clients with emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual healing. If you were here when I had Dr. Lisa on, you will kind of be a little familiar with Samuel's practice, because Samuel and Lisa are a team, a mom and son team who are amazing. We kind of talked a little bit about you. Did you see in the episode with her? We talked a little bit about you. We said nice things about you, of course. He's also a registered psychotherapist in the state of Colorado, and he's a student of La Maestra Clarissa Pincola Estes. I probably said that one right?
Oh, yes, you did.
And who trained him in archetype work as well as dream analysis. He's attended many years of our trainings via the Archetypal and Cross-Cultural Studies Institute. He's got like, this is like a guy with lots of like stamps of approval from a lot of places. He's also a participant in the international collaboration of indigenous healers, curanderos, sanadores, and shamans, which originated in the sacred mountains of Tepoztlan. Oh, God. When you get into those words, Aztec words, I have a hard time. Tepoztlan Valley in Mexico. So you can find Samuel on Instagram. He is Sam Zen, SAMZEN 812 on Instagram. That's where I follow him, and he always has interesting, beautiful pictures about things that he's up to. One of the things I didn't have here is, I probably cut it out of your bio, is that you're located in Denver, and that's where I met you over at Ritual Craft back in the day, right?
I think it was last year. You and Jim came up, and I was very excited to take your class with my mother, because we are a team.
Yeah. And you did
an interesting dynamic, you and Jim working together. I absolutely loved it. It definitely piqued my interest more in the tarot practices. So
oh my gosh. Well, we were teaching a class, Jim and I, that's a little mini announcement I have to make. We were supposed to be teaching this class at PaganaCon this coming weekend, and I was supposed to have my thing at PaganaCon, but of course everything has been shut down. So you're still going to hear old announcements that are saying I'm going to be at Paganicon, and I will be at Paganicon, but it's going to be in September, not in March. And also, I don't know if Reader Studio is going to happen, which is the tarot convention in New York. It's still up in the air whether that's going to happen, and I probably won't be going to that either. I'm going to hope that it gets, rolled over to next year and that we do it then. So we're seeing everything is play it by ear right now. Everybody's huddling up at home and we're playing it by ear, but no Paganicon. So we're going to have Paganicon in September, and Jim and I will be teaching that palmistry tarot mashup class that we did have at Ritual Craft, and that's where we met. And we'll be doing it there sometime in September 3rd and 4th, I think is the date, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, or 4th, 5th, and 6th. I get something like that weekend, whatever that weekend is. So that's a little mini announcement. So let's talk about your practice. So I remember you coming into the class and you were like so knowledgeable and you had so much to contribute to that class. It was like a really memorable class for me because I learned so much, from the student, you know what I mean? You're there as the student, but you had so much knowledge about palmistry. Palmistry is one of your practices and you do such an interesting thing. Tell us a little bit about that. I mean, what are you doing with palmistry?
So it's a practice that came to me over a course of, my life, just learning and paying attention to things. Jim and I have a very similar way of reading the lines, which I found very interesting because I didn't read this or pick it up from any book, just kind of general knowledge. So I'll start actually by reading the adjustments in the hand. So I'll do a hand adjustment with all of their knuckles and in the metacarpal area. And I'll go from there because each of the joints has a particular meaning. And this has come to me through, years of just figuring it out and noticing different traits. So I'll start with that, and then I'll kind of apply them to the lines. And it gives me not so much of a broad spectrum of things, but things that I think should be brought up and discussed. And I've been doing that for, close to 10 years openly. And I'm getting back into it. I actually have a surgery on my hand coming up on the 20th, so I won't be doing any work with that anytime soon. But I've done a lot of body work, and the adjustment just kind of played into the palmistry.
It's such a fascinating thing. I think of these things as really being like you're getting a download. Like when just because you're the first one to, quote, discover this, or that there's no precedent for what you're doing, I think you're getting it from spirit realm, honestly, from your ancestors. I mean, if we think about like ancestral practices, I'm doing a lot of research right now on Ukrainian ancestral practices, because I'm half Ukrainian. So as you go into our ancestral stuff, a lot of that stuff wasn't documented. So how else are we going to get it? Mm-hmm. If it's in prehistoric times when all we have is like cave paintings or handprints or dolls or things like that, we're going to have to get it from someplace. We're not going to get it because it wasn't written down. That doesn't mean it's not out there and available to us. So I think there's a lot of ways you could describe it. It's downloads from spirit. It's going into the Akashic records. It's doing whatever, but you're going back into an ancestral practice, or you're going back into something and you're getting a download on it. And it works. I mean, that's really the proof is in the pudding, right? It's like, if you're doing something and you're saying, wow, I got this idea, let me try it out. And you're seeing that you're accurate. Oh, you've got a stuck joint here. That means this is what is the issue right now. I'm sure, is that kind of what you're doing when you're doing these readings?
Yeah, so I always go into the body is separated into two different, forms. So on the left side, we have the maternal, feminine, and emotional side. And then the opposite on the right side, the masculine, paternal, physical side of things. So depending on where that adjustment is on each hand, I can kind of say, okay, so we're dealing with something that has to do more so with your emotion than your everyday interactions.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so, let's say you have a stuck joint in your left hand, you can go, oh, there's an emotional stiffness or something like that. And then you do that with the client. And if the client's like, oh my gosh, that's totally what's going on, you're getting feedback that what you're doing is what that download is accurate. So we do, the same thing happens when doing spell work or magic or anything like that. It's like, is it producing the result that you want? It's just as simple as that. If it's not, then you need to make an adjustment or you need to try something else. and so on, So now palmistry isn't the only thing that you do. You do a lot more, and you and your mom are building a new studio to be doing healing work, right?
Yes, this has been in progress for, I think we're going on the 4th month right now of, we're converting the old garage space into a healing space and a space where we can also teach. My mother, Lisa, just got some new apprentices, and so there's going to be plenty of room for her to go over some of her teachings, and I'll support where I can. But we hope that the space should be done by the end of, well, let's see, what's today? Probably not the end of this month, but probably by mid-month, where we can start seeing our clients again on a regular basis. It's kind of, everything's been put on hold for the last 3 months or so. So we can't wait to start seeing our clients again, doing our limpias and actually having a big space to do that.
Yeah. And so the things that you're planning to do there is teaching classes and doing limpias. So do you want to tell everybody kind of like a little bit more for those of the people out there that aren't familiar with curanderismo and the services that you offer? What does that look like? Like if it's a menu in a restaurant, what's on the menu?
So in curanderismo, we focus on, some people will say 3 things. Some people say 4 things. I'm one of those people who says 4 things. We focus on the mind, body, spirit, and emotional components that require healing or any work that should be done. So one of the things that I tend to practice is with the body. I have an associate's degree in massage therapy and body work, and I don't consider myself a massage therapist. However, the background has made a difference in my practice, and that's when I can apply all of those other magical workings that I know about. So we also have Platica, which is a heart-to-heart conversation. That's where that psychotherapy component comes in, working with archetypes. And now that, I'm working with the tarot a little bit more, kind of pulling some of those cards and seeing if there's any like specific archetypes, kind of a semi-divination work to work with the clients. Loving it.
Yeah.
Spiritual cleansings or limpias. So we do like a limpia con huevo, which is, I think, the most notable that everybody thinks of if they look up curanderismo, is the cleansing with an egg. So we'll do that. That is one of the things that Lisa and I do, is we'll actually read the egg. My mother, Lisa. Yeah. People get a little weird when I say her first name, but I want them to be able to look her up, not just say
you know what? I'm going to throw something in here. It's super. Your mom and I had, Lisa and I had a conversation. I won't say your mom. Lisa and I had a conversation about this because in my own research and looking at healing practices in Ukraine, there is an egg limpia, but it's not called a limpia, obviously. It's called whatever it is in Ukrainian, but there's an egg cleansing that they do, and it's very similar. So both she and I were freaking out about the aspect of like, this isn't like, this practice is, we see it popping up in lots of different areas. Now, whether whether it migrated or it popped up, what we're seeing is I would say the confirmation of the power of this work,
Yes.
It doesn't matter if it traveled over because somebody, Mexican indigenous person came over to Ukraine, and taught it to somebody over there, or vice versa, they learned it, or if it just popped up on its own. And looking at the kind of how they kind of match and where they don't exactly match is such a fascinating thing. So fascinating to look at. I love it, So yeah, your mom and I were talking about that. We were having our talks about the healing work and the different cultures, and we were both very fascinated by it. But go on, what else do you have on the menu?
Curanderismo is just that it's a blend of so many like different cultures. We attended the Conjure Gala at Ritualcraft, and it kind of, there's a stigma with voodoo, hoodoo, voodoo, and any conjure work. And in curanderismo, we're kind of focused on that love light aspect. The work is so similar. It was definitely mind blowing. I'm like, this is like the same thing. This is the same thing. This is the same thing. And you kind of have to know how things are put together to take things apart. So in curanderismo, we focus on, it comes from the word heal. So, we're not doing anything bad, but you need to know some of those things so you can take care of it. And that's what we do in our practice. If somebody comes, and I will say, you know, 9 out of 10 times, most people aren't cursed or hexed. 9 out of 10 times.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just really good to have that awareness. I think a good portion of curanderismo is bringing whatever change or work needs to be done, bringing that awareness to the client. And if that awareness is lighting a candle for 7 days and making your intentions, that's what it is. And, you know, some people call that spell work. Some people call that just prayer. I'm all for it.
Yeah. It's very interesting. You bring up another topic, and then we'll get to our questions because we have a bunch of people asking questions. So, someone said, "Is this where we ask questions?" Yeah, the Q&A isn't in existence anymore. Ask it in the chat. I pulled that down because I couldn't pull the questions down. I talked about that at the beginning. So if you have a question, put it over in the chat, you guys. So one of the things I was, you know, getting to is like how these things, they do overlap, and you do see how similar they are. And things like you might see an herb in Chinese medicine, Chinese traditional medicine, and see the magical aspect correspond together. Now, it's unlikely, not impossible, but unlikely that, let's say, Native American practice and Chinese practice met. The only place they could have met is if we go way, 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 way back to those ancient people, and then they, you know, moved and, you know, migrated and did that thing. I mean, there's that possibility. There's, of course, the possibility that the information was transmitted in some way. That's true. Or it could be that they sort of on their own sprouted up, and that we realize that these things work just because they work. You know, it's like how someone will come up with a technology idea and someone else will also come up with the same idea at the same time, and then there's a, you know, trademark, patent, whatever argument. You know, electricity, you know, both Edison and Westinghouse and Tesla were all working with electricity, and they were all fighting over these patents. But it was like there was something springing up at the same time, and they were discovering some of the same stuff around the same time. So I think at a magical level, that can also happen where someone sees lemongrass, oh, it's a cleanser over here in this continent way over here, and they also see it as a cleanser over here on this continent. So we can see those correspondences, and I find it so fascinating.
I love it. It's definitely amazing to see those things, and
So
the
good.
relationship that people like can connect with over those things. You know?
Yeah.
Our work is similar and different in its own way.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I think it's such a beautiful thing. And that's why I love having all kinds of magical practitioners of all kinds on the Q&A, because it's like we learn so much from one another. And whether it's your people over here or my people over in the, you know, in the group of question askers, we all are learning from each other. It's so, so beautiful. I just love it. All right, so let's get to some questions. All right, so here's a question from Buchanan. So, you know, I'll throw it out there and see what you have to say about it. What are some easy magical practice for protecting your loved ones from illness? Quite the topic right now.
I love it. The first one right off the bat.
Wash your hands.
Yeah, so like that is an amazing magical practice. Wash your hands, 20 seconds. Happy birthday twice. In our practices, you know, illness and disease, we call it malare. It's an evil wind. We knew that all of these illnesses that could travel and that were airborne were real. And in some traditions and in some practices, especially in curanderismo and in the Native American traditions, this evil wind, this disease, was the form of a spirit at times. At least in curanderismo, it's a component of very real. In the Navajo traditions, it's kind of not very real, but it's still there. We actually use in our magical practices oils and herbs. Lots of oils and lots of herbs. A bundle of herbs, I don't know if you can see the one that's actually behind me, is rosemary. We call this a rama, and it would be hung by the doors. And so you would actually break it up, and with your intentions, you're kind of charging it with that. The essential oils and the scents that are coming off that would like ward off those evil winds, those disease. So to me, that is a very magical practice that I think a lot of people are doing nowadays with essential oils, just not in the same way. So adding that intention and charging it with that specific, that evil wind is not to be here, kind of putting like the evil eye outside your door. I think that is a very easy magical practice.
I love this because this is what I call supermarket magic. It's supermarket magic. Even if you don't live in the countryside where you can grow, you can either grow a little pot of rosemary in your windowsill if you live in an apartment. But if you're in a pinch, you can go to the market and go to the herb section in the fresh produce. They'll have some rosemary and fresh produce, and you can buy it there. Well, in California, rosemary grows everywhere. I mean, I'll go for a walk and I'll see rosemary plants. I'd ask. I have my own rosemary plants, so I'm not stealing anybody else's rosemary plant. But it's like something that grows around, so you can find it and pick it. You can get it from your supermarket. It doesn't have to be a crazy expensive thing. And I love teaching people like how I just had an article up on my blog of like how to do, I can't remember which article it was. Herbal magic, how to do herbal magic. And I said, here's 7 places in your market that you can get stuff. You think of the spice aisle. Yeah, that's one place. You can also go to the teas. In the teas, you're going to find herbs. In the produce section, you're going to find herbs. There's salt in the salt section. That's a big one for cleansing. So this is stuff that you don't have to even go to a magical store or anything. You can do it very easily with the stuff that you find at the grocery store. So I think that's fabulous. I love that. Let's get to another question. Why don't we do that? What's a good spell? This one's from Cal. Cal says, what's a good spell to get a stubborn person to reconcile? Currently not living together, but they haven't been apart for very long. Okay. How do you get someone to, what's a reconciliation working? What would you do if someone says, I want to get back together? Give me a spell. Give me some.
Me in my practices, my disclaimer, I think anytime I have a new client is when it comes to love, I don't mess with it. It's messy. I don't even want to touch up on anything with love, but I mean, getting somebody to kind of reconcile and realize.
What if it wasn't love? What if it was a family member? Let's say that.
Oh, okay. I mean, it's kind of like the same thing. There's so many different ways. Candle work, I think, is a really big one with, 7-day candles, any kind of herbs that have to do with reconciliation or realization, something of the mind, anything with like the memory, the color blue. I would do a 7-day candle with that. Something that I think shouldn't be taken too lightly is cutting of the cords. Sometimes there's not necessarily a cutting of the cord, but there's the untying of a knot. Cutting cords can be considered dangerous, I think, in some ways. And we don't always want to lose those things because reconciliation, most of it is anger or holding something against that person. That anger is a cord, and you may want to cut it, but it has a purpose. There's a reason for it. There might just be not a cord, but a knot instead. So I would do some work where I'm probably working with a red string. I work with red strings very, very much, like a lot, or black, and I would do 7 knots. And for 7 days, 7-day candle, 7, magical number. For every day, I would untie a knot, and with that intention, say, I need to let go of this, or I need the realization of that, or allow this person to not hold this against them. I mean, it can be applied in so many different ways, but that's what I would do, because it's, again, another easy thing, 7-day candle, just every day, or an untying of knots.
This brings up an interesting topic, because you are not the only one who's like, I'm not going to mess with a reconciliation. I would say probably 75% of people that I know that are legitimate, real workers. I mean, you'll find, believe me, plenty of scam artists that are like, I'm going to get your man back in 24 hours and all that other BS. But when we talk about real workers, 75% of them, in my estimate, won't take on reconciliation work, and probably 50% of them won't take on love work. And the reason is this, I think the real reason is this, is that a lot of times people want a quick fix when it comes to reconciliation. I just want my man back, or I just want my woman back, or I want my person back, right? Mm-hmm. But they're not actually looking at underlying issues. So if you get someone back, great, But if what was happening there was a horrible communication and stuff that was going on that broke you up in the first place, you haven't dealt with that yet, and you're bound to have those miscommunications, infidelities, egocentric issues recur again and again and again. So you'll be like, makeup, breakup, makeup, breakup. And what happens is that root workers, spellcasters, witches, people that are doing this work for you, curanderos, are like, it wears you out to put up this work, and then the person through their own old stuff undoes what you did. And then they come back to you and they're either I need you to do it again, or worse, you did it but you didn't do it. And the root worker can be like, forget, I'm not going to do this work anymore, because you can't win. So whenever someone has a reconciliation, I always urge them to go to a trusted reader to get a reading on what the deeper issue is.
Yes, I 100% agree.
Because it may be that other person that you're with is incapable of commitment, or there's a communication issue, or whatever. You need to get to that first before you do the reconciliation. It may be the client coming to you having a lack of self-love or lack of self-esteem. It could be, there's a bazillion things it could be, right? So when a reconciliation that's like the symptom, but you got to drill down to what the deeper issue is. And so answering that question, like what's a good spell to do to get a stubborn person, we have things that you can do, but if that stubborn person is still going to be up to their old tricks again, then you're going to be back in the same boat again pretty quickly. So you have to drill down to what the deeper issue is and deal with that first. And then you can do your reconciliation work. So my message to you, Cal, is get a reading from a trusted reader, somebody who knows their stuff, who probably can make recommendations on spell work that you can do, but get a reading to see what the deeper issue is before you do the reconciliation, because you don't want to have to go through this. You don't want to get on that merry-go-round. Nobody.
It'll just keep happening.
Nobody likes that merry-go-round. Nobody likes that merry-go-round. And a real ethical, and here's the other thing too. I think there are some inexperienced, maybe root workers, who will do reconciliation, but not drill down to that deeper issue. And they don't mind dinging you for that bill every time you need to do a reconciliation work. I don't like to work that way. I want to be like one and done. And so that's why when I do the work, I want to drill down to that deeper issue so that I can solve that problem first, then we can work on the reconciliation. So sometimes it's a multi-step process, just FYI. A reconciliation can be a multi-step process in that way. So yeah, yep. All right. Anything else you want to say about that, or you want another question?
I think let's bring on another question.
All right. So Nina wants to know, what would be a good spell for a career change? What would be a good spell for a career change?
Oh,
that's not love work.
it's not. But I think the real expert is my mother. She, I have multiple jobs, and I have my day job. I actually work at a university, and I've had quite a few different. I used to work at maybe I shouldn't be dropping names, but I worked at a smoothie place once before, and that was horrible. I walked out on that job, and I did not feel bad about it whatsoever. But my mother, being the expert that she is, she did a lot of magical workings to make sure that I had a good career. And I will have been at this university for a little over 1 year now. She does, from what I've seen, is she does intention work, writing down what that job is, we'll print off 2 applications, as a matter of fact, if you already know what you want, and then we'll fill it out, and there's another application. Don't forget to submit the real application, by the way. Yeah. I think they actually joked around about that in Orange is the New Black, that somebody never actually turned in the application. You have to turn in the application. So with that intention work and leaving it on the altar and making offerings to that application, to that job description, if it's a career that you know is going to work out for you. And if you don't get it, the one thing that I always think is maybe that job wasn't meant for you and another one's going to come along. But actually making offerings whether it's flowers, herbs, smoke, if you do incense or burn copal, actually making those offerings to the resume, to the application, to the job description, and bringing that into your life, that intention work, just on your altar alone, that is super powerful and super easy.
So great. Having an altar and a home altar is like one of the best places to do your working. It's a focus point. It's got energy to it. It is such a beautiful thing to do. So that is an amazing recommendation. I love that. I am all about the closed door is as valuable as the open door. This is a huge concept that I don't know anybody else that says it. This is my download I got, and I say it all the time. Closed door is as valuable as an open door, because exactly as you say, Sam, if what it is on the other side of the door, you kind of don't know what's on the other side of the door. I said, you may think that job is your dream job, but what if you got a really jerky boss and backstabbing coworkers, and your desk is next to the men's restroom and it stinks, and they make you work overtime, and they're really unmerciful. That's not your job, but you can't really tell that from a job description. They're only going to tell you what the job duties are. So there's other, I think, much more important aspects of that job that may not be a match for you. And the main thing is to do not get the mindset that the job did not open up to you because you were not worthy. The job didn't open up to you because it wasn't worthy of you. The job wasn't worthy of you. So if you apply for that office job, being like, oh my God, this is my dream job, it'd be perfect working there, you don't really know. So you do have to do that footwork of putting it out there. And that's a very important part of any kind of material world manifestation. You have to do material world something. You have to put in the application. But if it doesn't open to you, great, move along. You can feel a moment of disappointment, but go, okay, whatever was back there wasn't good enough for me, and there's something better for me. And that's, the universe has one way that it communicates with every single one of us. And it's a very binary, it's very black and white. It's open door or closed door. Open door to that, walk through it. Closed door, move to the next one. That's all. If you want to have a successful, happy, expansive life, you don't even have to do magic. All you have to do is pay attention to the doors. Now, if you want to get some guidance or get some movement or get some direction, that's when you do magic, and that leads you to your next door. So would you say that's right?
I would. And I mean, there's work out there for just door opening spells. I think that is an important place to start, because to choose something and not get it can make you think that your work isn't working. But really, it's about just opening those doors.
That's another important point there, is like when people get discouraged. I have a great podcast episode about this. I have to say, it's what to do with magical discouragement. When you do a spell and you don't see a result, it is a result, but the result may be, keep going, girl, because you're almost there. Keep going, boy, you're almost there. Keep going. Don't stop here at this mediocre result. Keep going to the excellent result of what it is that you're wanting, whether it's the relationship or the job or the living situation or whatever it is, just keep moving forward. The universe is always a stream that's flowing, and you want to go for that great ride, get on the flow and go for that ride. Don't stay stuck in the weeds out somewhere. I didn't get the job. That's stuck in the weeds, Sevda has a question. If you do a spell to end something and bury it at a gravesite, do you ever do any graveyard work?
Yes.
Okay. Probably on your own, but not for your clients, right?
Yes.
So that's how I do. I don't do graveyard work for clients. It's something I kind of feel, you probably feel the same way. It's kind of like a personal thing, right? It's kind of, to me, it always feels more personal and not something that I would do on behalf of someone.
If you're willing to pay someone to do it for you, you better be willing to pay big, because they're going to charge big. And that's how I feel, is if I will do it for someone, but my price is going to be pretty high.
Yeah.
Because it is very personal work. And there's a reason why it's personal work, is you're working with some heavy energy and some heavy work.
Yeah, it's heavy lifting. I mean, it's like, but I think it is something that if someone wants to have that kind of work done, doing it yourself it's unless you're incapacitated and can't get to a graveyard, you know what I'm saying? Like some people might, you know, be in a bed and can't do it. If you have a ability to move and get there and you really want to do that work, I just think there's such great benefit in you doing it yourself. You have the experience, and that experience alone is going to be so opening up for you. You can have someone do it for you by proxy for sure, but it's a lot of work to have someone else do it by proxy. You know, it is like they, not just the spiritual work, but like, you got to get over to the graveyard. You got to get in, you got to do this. It's like a lot of work to do. So anyway, if you do a spell to end something, you bury it at a graveyard, do you have to choose a grave, or is it okay to just bury it on the site? What do you say about that?
That is a really good question. So the energetic component, at least from my teachings and my background on that, of the cemetery or a graveyard, because they are different, is that entire space, that enclosure is set with that energy. You don't necessarily have to choose a grave, because the component of the earth there is graveyard dirt. It is that energetical part that you're working with. It doesn't have to be with someone, because then you're going to have to, at least, and how I was brought about this work is, if you're going to be working with an individual's grave, you have a lot of offerings to make to that person, whereas if you're making your offerings to the general, to the area, it's not as personal with I don't want to say entity, but that person who has passed. It's the area. I would say at the area, not at a particular person's grave.
So what's very interesting for me and the way I work, I've always worked with either, I worked very intentionally with certain graves. So I work with relatives for sure, because they're ancestor, that's ancestor work. And that's really like my thing. But I also see the value in, like, if you get a celebrity, dirt from a celebrity's grave, like, because you want that energy of that person, whatever their celebrity was about. If they're a musician and you want to get some graveyard dirt for them. But like for me, working with a random person, I don't have a connection, because I don't have a concept of, I want to have a concept of the spirit in some way that I'm working with. But I don't say that working with general graveyard is wrong or bad, or it isn't effective or anything like that. I'm just saying that for me personally, I'm a spiritualist. I have to feel a connection to that spirit. And if it's a random person or just a graveyard in general, I'm not necessarily getting their vibe or seeing who they are. So it's just not the way I don't feel attracted to it. I guess that's what I would say. I don't feel attracted to working in that random way. So if you're ending well, now that goes back to the question.
With ending, though, I would just say random. Yeah.
So ending something, it doesn't really matter. I agree with you. Like if you're doing something, you're burying something because you're getting rid of it and you're burying it in a graveyard, it really doesn't matter, because it's
becoming its own plot.
Exactly. You're burying something in the graveyard, so it doesn't matter. But if you're doing energetic work with a particular spirit at their grave site, then for me, I feel like I have to have some connection. Either I have to have an awareness of who they were in life, or they have to be in my ancestral lineage or something that I can make a connection. But I wouldn't go up to a random grave and just start working with it, because to me, it just doesn't. Like sometimes you'll hear people like, oh, if you want to get protection, go to a grave of a soldier. But if I don't know that soldier, it feels like walking up to a random stranger and saying, hey, help me.
Just thinking of, like, it's kind of like going up to a random person and just saying, hey, I need you to do this for me.
Yeah, exactly. I'll pay you, to do this. It just seems, I feel like I want to have more of a relationship, even if the relationship is one-sided. Like a celebrity obviously isn't going to know who I am, but if I come to that celebrity knowing who they are, and I have a conversation and I start to build up the energy, then I can start to work with them. I have to have some concept. And I think it's the same way with, sometimes people in the spiritualist world will be like, oh, I want to work with Santa Muerte. I'm like, does Santa Muerte want to work with you? Does Black Hawk want to work with you? Like, it's great that you want to do that, but you need to ask them first if they will work with you. So the same thing, like working with a spirit in a graveyard, it's like your ancestors 100% for sure will want to work with you. I've never heard of a situation, because the ancestors are in there, expensive, joyful, biggest and brightest and best. So even if they were difficult in life, they're still going to be loving in the spirit form, But if so ancestors will always, you kind of already have that relationship with your ancestors, whether the ancestors, by the way, whether the ancestors are blood ancestors or if you were adopted. Even if you're adopted, you're still their child. So it isn't about like that lineage. It's not about like, well, I'm genetically DNA related to them. The DNA helps, but an adopted child is still, that you're still in that lineage, you're still in that family, But when you're working with someone you don't know, a celebrity, a spirit, a spirit celebrity like Santa Muerte or Black Hawk, you need to ask them first if they are the right, if you guys are the right match, and then they will show you messages and show you signs that they are. So that's,
and knowing that background, I think, is important. So like, I admit I've done graveyard work and cemetery work. As a Navajo, I would not openly admit that back home because there is a huge taboo against that. But here, being in Denver and in a different place, knowing where you're at and kind of where those boundaries are, just my little asterisks for some people.
Yeah. And I think it's that beautiful blending of like, you bring up a really important point, I think, which is that there can be like a prescribed something that's handed down. But I think each of us individually, as we become more our own personal spiritual practice, we'll look at what's given and we'll say, oh, that I really resonate with that, or that doesn't really work for me, right? Has that been your experience?
Yes. My practices and how I was raised is such a contradiction. I'm surprised I even made it this far. And it's probably thanks to my mom, Lisa. Navajo side, owls, super bad, stay away. My mom's side, yeah, bring them in. The owls are cool.
Yeah. And I think it's like, and it's not to say, it's really not to say that it's bad for someone else. It's just what works for you. And I think this is something that everyone can benefit from knowing, is that anything that Madame Pamita says, anything that Samuel says, anything that anybody else says, there might be pieces that work for you and there might be pieces that don't work for you, and you take what works for you. That's it. That's all. I say to you, if you want something, you dress a candle with the oil going up. If you want to bring something in, someone else says, no, you start at the middle going out. That's fine. I'm not saying that their way is wrong. It's what works for that person. So I teach the way that works for me, and hopefully pieces of that will work for all of you guys. I think that both of us probably are in agreement on that.
Yeah.
All right. Ange says, wash your hands and cover your coughs and sneezes. That's a good spell for keeping everybody. Holly says, this is a great question. Aloha. If it feels appropriate, I have a question about working with several spirit guides at once. Okay, so can you work with several spirit guides? Do you work with spirits at all? You must.
I do, yes. I have my guides, I have my anchors, I have my santos, my saints that I work with, and then I usually am working with more than one in the same day. So I feel like it's completely appropriate as long as you build that relationship.
For sure. And I feel like they're going to kind of tell you, I always feel like if you really develop your relationship with your spirit guides, they'll come forward. You don't even have to know who they are. You can present it to your council. I call it council, your spirit guide council. And you can say, I'm having a problem. I'm really scared right now and worried. And I want to make sure that all my loved ones are healthy. That's on everyone's mind right now. So you can ask your guides that are going to come forward. If you don't know their names, or you don't have that kind of visual or auditory experience with them, it doesn't mean that you don't have them, and it doesn't mean that they won't help. You can ask them for help. Whichever guides are going to help with protecting myself and my family from getting sick. Done. That's all you have to ask, because the ones that are meant to help will help. And so it may be one, it may be more than one. Now, if you're already, Holly, it sounds like you're building up a relationship, and you can ask certain guides to help with certain situations. You can ask them whoever you feel called to ask, and you can have more than one working on a situation. I do it all the time. I ask whoever wants to help, come and help. And sometimes it's one, and sometimes it's more than one. So, and same, Sam, you ask whoever, A lot of people do that, I think. I think that's pretty typical. All the saints, come and help me. You know, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, come and help me. I mean, we all ask for spirits, multiple spirits, because we like, you want your dream team there. You want as many as there to help as you can. All the angels, come and help me. You know, I think that's very, very typical for people. And I don't think that's anything unusual. So whether you say Saint Expediti and Black Hawk, I want you to help me with this situation. Great. You know, if you have that relationship with them, you've already developed that relationship, bring it on, you know? All right. Let's see. Mad says, I can't read that name. Mad says, most of the time when people are doing reconciliation work, they need self-love work before anything else. True, true. So Nina has that question, back to that question about changing to a flight attendant job. I think it's a flight attendant wanting to, I'm not sure if it's a flight attendant wanting to change to a different job, but what would be a good offering for a flight attendant job?
Ooh. Well, I'd be working with anything related to the sky and the winds. I'd be making my offerings specific to those energies, because that's where, putting myself in that position, that's where I want to be.
Yeah,
I want to be up there. Yep.
Incense would be great for that. And you could also do room spray. If you have respiratory issues, you can use a room spray instead, and you can make it with oil or essential oil and spring water, shake it up, or sometimes people use alcohol, shake it up and spray it around like you would an incense, right? Mm-hmm. Brilliant idea. That's brilliant. I love your idea. If you want to go up in the air, work with the air, spirits of the air, you know.
and I would do offerings to Icarus so that I don't come down.
Yeah, perfect. All right, so Holly has another question. Are you born a witch, or do you develop into one? Are you born a magical practitioner? Are you born a curandero? Are you born a whatever?
I especially, I like how how she put that question. Are you born or do you develop? The answer, at least how I was raised, is yes. Just yes. Curanderismo is something that can be passed down through a lineage, or somebody can learn to become one. I'm lucky enough that I've had both of that. I could have turned away and said, no, I don't want anything to do with this. But, you know, we have that joke. I was born at a young age. At that young age, was kind of like, oh, I have this ability to do this work, and I should. And so that I've just kept up with it for, I don't know, the last 17 or so years, even though that I've really actively wanted to participate in this work. So I just say yes. Some people are born into it, or they're born with that. We call it like a don, a gift, and some people can develop into one.
I think you're absolutely right. I agree with you 100% on that. I think it's very interesting. I kind of liken it to, if you grow up in a family of artists, let's say there are painters and artists in your family, you may have some innate skills, like being able to sit and look at something, having good hand-eye coordination. Those things that make you a good artist may be passed down in a genetic DNA way. But does that mean that only people that grew up around artists become artists? No, there's all kinds of people that become artists when nobody in their family is artistic. A family of scientists have a child that's an artist. That happens too. And that happens, and even somebody that may, even in later life, go, gosh, I really feel like I want to be an artist. I'm going to learn how to draw, can learn and develop that skill. But I think there are some people that have the advantage of, for example, growing up with a magical parent. You had magical people around you. You were immersed in that environment. You were exposed. You weren't shut down. So I do think that those things give you a little head start. Let's call it that. They give you a head start that somebody that grew up in a scientific family where there was no magic, and magic was looked down on and you were shamed for being magic, you're going to be starting maybe a little bit behind, but that doesn't mean that you don't eventually end up to be amazing magical practitioners. I think it's just some people are fortunate enough to have that head start because they had magical families. I had magical on my mom's side family. On my dad's side, no way. My dad never never shut it down, which was good. You know, he wasn't like that, but he's like, oh, whatever, you do you, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But my mom's side's super magical, right? So, and I think that if I go back enough in my dad's side of the family beyond, well, I know this for the older ancestors were magical because everyone was magical back then. Everyone, you know, back in ancient times, we think of this time where it's like science is way over here and spirituality is way over here, and they are on opposite sides of the room. That's only a development since the 20th century. Before then, alchemy, people would see like, oh, well, do this and do this. And there was folk magic, and it was a part of people's day-to-day life. There was no separation. And there wasn't much science, but there wasn't that separation. You know what I mean? Science is a relatively new thing. But you get what I'm saying? It's like people could be a scientific person, but also be a spiritual person. Yes. And that separation, now we're seeing it come back together, where we're starting to see those real, what I would call those real forward-thinking Aquarian kind of people that are scientists. I mean, I have some clients who are scientists, and they also are spiritual. So we're seeing them merging again, you know, about this artificial separation is totally artificial. All right, we have time for like one or two more questions. Do you ever, let me ask you a question, Sam. Do you ever use a pendulum?
Oh my goodness. It's been years, I think, since I've done any pendulum work. And the work that I did was just very simple. Yes, no, maybe, determining the sex of a baby, but never actually going forward with any other work on that. So I'm very limited with pendulum knowledge.
Yeah, well, the question is, can I use a pendulum remotely, and how could I use a pendulum? Let's talk about remote work. I mean, I think you can really do a pendulum up. If you want to ask a question about somebody far away, you can ask it. You know, it's not that I'm not one of those people. Some people are like, I will not do a reading for someone who's not present in front of me. Like, I'm like, game on. The guides always open the doors for me. When I go up into the Akashic Records, if you're asking about somebody over there, as long as I can have a connection to you who has a connection to them, I can get the reading and the information. And so I'm not one of those fastidious people that's like, I can only answer a question for you sitting in front of me. Sorry. I'll go and I'll get in anybody's business, and I have no problem. As long as I can't get into somebody's business that I have no connection to. So if you ask me about a celebrity, I can't, and you have never met that celebrity, I can't answer a question about Johnny Depp, because you and I don't have a relationship to Johnny Depp that I know of. Maybe you do. I don't have one.
Oh, me and him, we go way back.
But it's like, as long as there's a connection of some kind, that like a highway that gets me there, I can get into anybody's thing. So a remote reading with a pendulum, it should be no problem. Do you do any kind of remote work of any kind?
Yeah, so some of the intuitive work that I've done over the phone, I always tell them I can only work with you because I'm talking with you. I'm making this connection with you. If you're asking about so-and-so that you know, I don't know, and that's not anything I can do. I can't tell you how many times people have sent me pictures of their palms to look at.
Unsolicited palm pics?
Yeah, right. So
don't send Samuel any unsolicited palm pics.
It's that one's funny. I always have to tell them, like, it has to be a really quality photo, because I look at some of those little lines. I mean, I can't do the hand adjustment portion, so I always tell them, you know, it's only what I'm limited and what I can see. But yeah, I totally believe in that work that is done remotely, as long as you have that connection.
So for you, it's like the direct connection. You can do a work remotely with the person, and it doesn't necessarily have to be sitting in front of you or even on the phone with you, as long as it's the direct connection, right? Mm-hmm. That you're working on. Are you able to do any curandero work and in like remotely, or does it have to be physical hands-on?
No, it does not have to be physical hands-on. There's actually a lot of candle work that's done in some of the older curanderismo. You know, there's a blend of what is curanderismo and what isn't, and that line, it's why it's kind of a blend. So intentional work, like I said, with the job or doing any candle work, to me, a lot of it's done remote. So yeah, and I see the benefits.
Yeah, and so if in terms of a pendulum, you can ask a question about anything as long as you have a connection to it. And Like like I said, I can't ask a question about Johnny Depp because nobody I know knows Johnny Depp. I don't know Johnny Depp. There's no highway for me to get there. Like I can't ask. That's why it's a very interesting thing, because someone was asking me, do you do readings about like the state of the world or politics? I'm like, I don't have any connections to those people. I suppose it's like probably 6 degrees of separation between me and any politician or whatever. Like they say, like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. I suppose I'm that way, but I don't have I can't go that far. Right. So when people ask about world events, what's going to happen in the world? It's not my forte. I don't know. I just don't go there because I need to have, I'm connecting to the person energy. Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So people say, who's going to win the election? I'm like, I have a hope, but
right. If only I could get those lottery numbers the first time. It's not like the other, 1 million people doing their own work to get it.
Yeah, lottery's a tough one. But you know what though, man? I'm telling you, I have clients and we've done luck work and they've done all right. I do really great in horse racing. I know it's really not politically correct to like horse racing because the horses and animal rights people are not going to like that answer. But when I go to horse races, and I do go once in a while, like once a year, I don't go very often. I bring a mojo bag with me and I do all right at the horse track. So for me, that's the one gambling that I do all right in.
My mom and I is slot machines, and we joke about how we need to, go up to Blackhawk. We're going to go up the hill so we can win some money. My mother knows Lady Luck very well, and she probably won't like that I'm going to tell this little thing, but she won a big chunk of money from the slot machine 2 days in a row, and it was the same one. Yeah.
Whoa.
So Lady Luck was with her, and I don't know if it's something that runs in the family, but we always got our mojo bags. I just dressed a whole bunch of Mercury dimes for luck with the leap years on a leap year day, and those dimes seem to be doing pretty well for me right now. So
you're gonna have a bunch of people calling you and Lisa for a good luck gambling work, I think.
Right. It works if you want it. It works if you work it.
Yeah. I mean, I've had advise people on gambling luck and things like that, and it's an interesting thing because it really just tips it in your favor, so you get an edge. I feel like that's what it is. So like, I'm never going to the racetrack. I'm betting $5 at a time. I'm not like betting tons of money. It's not crazy. I just go for enjoyment, having lunch and enjoying the breezes and outside and all that. And it's fun, exciting, right? I like all that crowd energy too, that energy of like, everybody's rooting for the horses and it's fun. I think that's very fun. But, in that thing, it's like, oh, I found the thing that works for me. But I've had people I've done lottery charms or candles for luck or things like that for people, and have had them with whatever their gambling specialty is, do all right. So it just gives you that little bit of an edge. So like, I never leave the racetrack with less money than I come with. I mean, I may be $20 up, maybe even $80 up, but it's not like, giant amounts of money, because betting that much money makes me nervous. $5 bets I'm good with. Like if I lose $5, I'm not sad. If I lose $20, I'm a little, so.
One thing that I've been doing recently that's been working is saving the winning lottery scratch shavings and using that, because they already have that energy of they're winning. Somebody, I can't remember who it was, somebody brought that up and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try this. And so far it's been working, and I'm gonna keep doing it.
Fielding that energy, that's brilliant. Yeah, the scratcher is a winning scratcher. That energy of the winning scratcher is so good. Oh, I love that. That's amazing working. Well, we've come to the top of our hour. Can you believe it? How it goes so fast.
It really does. I'm surprised that it's already been an hour.
It was so much fun hanging out with you guys. Thank you so much. First of all, thank you, Samuel, for coming on the show. You are such a dear, sweet, genuine, like a real magic worker. Like, I only have real ones on my show, but you are a real one. As my kids say, you're a real one, Mom. You're a real one, Sam. And
Appreciate it.
you and your mom are so lovely. And I'm going to maybe be seeing you in Denver in June. I'm going to come for INATS. And so I'll probably see you guys sometime in June, maybe teaching, and hopefully we'll meet up. And maybe I'll get to see your new space. Tell the people where they can find you, where they can find that if they want to book something with you or the new space, or find out about your classes. And you're going to be doing some classes you know, out into the world online. So what's going on with that?
So as of right now, just until we can get everything in order, we're our contact information is messaging via Instagram. My Instagram is, you know, samzen812, and my mother's is eatspapaloto74. She needs to change it to an easier name.
I know that people can spell. I love her name because I love that goddess, but it's hard as heck to spell. So Samzen, I just put it down there, Instagram.com/Samzen812. And I'm going to, last time when your mom was on, I spelled it's papalato wrong, and I was really trying. ITZPAPALOTL
74. That sounded right. Yeah.
Okay. There we go.
Yep, that looks right to me.
Okay.
That's the best way of contacting us right now. We'll start seeing clients and doing our work again, probably towards the end of next month, just to make sure we have everything in order. I'm hoping to have my studio done. I'm going to start doing my ceramics. And I don't know if you got a chance to see those pendants that I was doing with the broom corn for protection.
So good. Yes.
Hoping to get back into that. So that's the best way of contacting us right now. And of course, we're always teaching at Ritual Craft. I think the next quarter is getting ready to be posted. And Lisa and I are doing a Curanderismo home remedy series where we're co-teaching together different remedies. And hopefully we can get some of these things online. We'll see where that goes.
Yeah, so you're going to be teaching. You were talking to me before the show. Can you talk about your feather class? Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I'll be teaching the feather class at Ritual Craft. I think it's Ritual Craft School that all of those classes can be seen. I got a lot of really good response about feather work. It's something that I've been doing for quite some time. I work with, you know, eagle feathers, parrot feathers, just a whole bunch of different feathers. I do have a permit. My little disclaimer about eagle feathers. Yeah, just bringing them back to life and some of the teachings on how that is used in magical workings, whether it's a smudging fan or just intentional work for yourself. I can't remember the dates that I submitted for that, but they'll be posted soon. And I hope to teach that one online because I know a lot of people wanted to take it and they weren't here in Denver. So I'll make sure that that one is able to be taught online.
That's so good. I want to take that feather class. I have a real beautiful connection to feathers. My guides always put the craziest feathers in my path. I've found giant teal blue parrot feathers in the streets of Los Angeles. Giant teal blue feathers. I found the ones that always crack me up. It's like my guides have a sense of humor. Is I'll find like a Las Vegas showgirl bright lime green feather in the street. You know, I mean, it's like everything. You know, all these crazy feathers. But my guides put crazy feathers in my path, and I love. They totally make me laugh. They totally delight me, and they totally make me laugh. So I always save them when I find them, and yeah.
Yeah, all of it. You know, if the room wasn't a mess, I'd probably swing it around and show you all the feathers that are hanging everywhere. But yeah, feather work is it's a big one for me, and I love it when they show up and the little signs here and there, especially when they're bright lime green.
I know, it's like my guides crack me up all the time. They have such a sense of humor. Well, they know me. They know they're gonna make me laugh, and so yeah. They do things like that. Showgirl feathers, sparkly feathers, all kinds of crazy feathers. So. Well, thank you so much, Samuel. Thank you so much, you guys that were here in the audience here joining us. It was such a delight. Your questions are always amazing. Next week, I just want to make a quick announcement. Next week, I was supposed to be at PaganaCon, and I forgot that, PaganaCon got canceled or moved to September, and I forgot that I was going to be at PaganaCon, and that's where I was going to do this show. So next week, it's going to be surprise guest. We don't know who it's going to be because I'm going to book it this week. So join me next week here at 5 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. 6 p.m. Mountain, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern. the same Zoom, once you join, it's that same Zoom link for usually for a while, usually keep it for several months. So you can come to this link again next week at the same time, and I'll be here with my guest. Hope you follow Sam and check out what he's doing. He's amazing. And Lisa, his mom, is also, they're an amazing team. Follow them. If you're in Denver, you can go to their classes and check them out. And if you're not in Denver, you can follow them on Instagram and see all they're up to, because they do amazing work. Really amazing work. So thank you again, Samuel, for joining me. It was such a pleasure to have you here. Please tell your mama.
Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, sure. And please tell your mama I said hi, okay?
I will.
All right. And tell her I looked at that book she was recommending and I got some good information. There was a book that we were talking about, the healing all around the world, that she found. And I was like, oh my God, it's amazing. And I did check it out.
Oh, so. Nice. I'll definitely let her know.
All right, you guys. Thank you again. We'll see you next week. Have a beautiful week. Stay safe, stay healthy, wash your hands. And really think mental hygiene. Don't watch the news. Don't watch this thing that they're making you fearful about, all this stuff. Just try and be in your place of peace and find that peace. I'm going to be doing a candle service. One last announcement. I'm going to be doing a candle service tonight, Sunday night. I'm going to be doing a free service for anybody that wants to be participating. I put a thing up on Instagram. If you leave a thing in the comments, I will be saying those names, and I'm probably going to try and do a live, but it'll be late tonight. I'll try and do a live, and I'll be saying the names of all the people. So you can it'll just be your handle on Instagram is what I'll be saying, but it still represents you. And if you have any loved ones that you'd like to be included, you can either put their Instagram handle, you can put their real name, or you can, if you want to be anonymous, you can say my loved ones, my family, my friends, or whoever. They'll still get included in that candle service for peace and for protection. I think the peace is just as important as the protection in this time. So putting that out there, it's free service for you guys. So if you want to get on it, go to my Instagram, look for the video of the little girl rolling up her sleeves. And that's the one, that's the one that you're going to put that on. And then I'll include you in the service. Just leave a little comment or emoji or something like that. All right. Okay, everyone, have a beautiful week. Thank you again, Samuel. And hopefully I'll see you in June.
I'm looking forward, and I'm going to hold you to it.
Okay. All right. Talk to you later, everyone. See you next week, guys. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.